$2 an hour 10 years ago to thousands of dollars for each appearance around the country today. So now we know which came first. It was the chicken and then the golden egg. And that'll do it for our pregame report. I'm Len Berman. Enjoy the game, everybody.
Tonight on Different Strokes.
What do you want from me?
Can Arnold save Kimberly from a dangerous kidnapper?
Please.
Before it's too late?
I don't know where my sister is.
On a critically acclaimed Different Strokes. Then it's an ear-splitting Silver Spoons when Dad issues Ricky a musical challenge.
Dad, I was rooked.
Tonight.
We play a great game, so for the good sports here, we'll buy the beer. Oh!
And 11.
The year was 1977. Herman Franks was managing the Chicago Cubs. And at the midway point of the season, they were in first place. Now in '84, as we near the All-Star break, the Cubs are in first place again. In '77, it was Bobby Mercer who was the big gun for Chicago. He blasts this home run into the sun at Wrigley Field. Now it's names like Sandberg and Say that are leading the way. And in '77, the Bear was Rick Russell. Seen here winning his 12th game of the season against the Mets. That was 7 years ago today. A much slimmer Rick Russell will go to the Hill this afternoon as the National League leaders in the East, the Cubs, meet the San Francisco Giants. NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today from Candlestick Park, it's the Chicago Cubs versus the San Francisco Giants. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Gillette Atra Razor, the twin blade razor that pivots for a close, comfortable shave. By Light Beer from Miller, an official sponsor of Major League Baseball. And by AC Delco, General Motors Corporation. AC Delco is the way to go. Beautiful day for baseball at Candlestick Park, San Francisco. Not a cloud in the sky, temperature at 70 degrees, and for the moment, very little wind. Good afternoon, everybody. Jay Randolph to call the play, and alongside a man who makes everybody's National League All-Irish team, former star third baseman of the Cardinals, Mike Shannon, to analyze the action this afternoon. The Cubs in first place. The surprising Cubs now 12 games over the 500 mark.
I think that's the real key, Jay. It's not that they're in first place at this time of the season. It's how many games over the 500 mark they are. That's the name of the game at this time of the year. And Chicago has put it together. When they started the season, everyone said, well, they need a little pitching. They've added pitching. Dallas Green, their general manager, has gone out. He's bought some pitching, especially Rick Sutcliffe. I think, Jay, he may turn out to be one of the better pitchers in the game in the future, close years here coming up.
This, of course, will be the site of the All-Star game next Tuesday, and we'll talk more about that. And, of course, the San Francisco Giants have been struggling. They're in last place in the West. And, Mike, there are some idiosyncrasies about playing in this ballpark. You played here.
Yeah, this is a very difficult place. You have to concentrate double full here, because if you lose your concentration with the wind, the sun, the crowd, you can get in a lot of trouble.
So we've got the San Francisco Giants, the Chicago Cubs, back with the starting lineups for Chicago right after these messages.
I tell you, playing polo is a lot tougher than it looks.
Sure is.
And even though the horses do the running, you still can work up a thirst.
So after a chucker or two, we equestrians drink light beer from Miller.
Yeah, light tastes great, and it's got a third less calories than a regular beer.
And it's less filling.
And that's important, because tomorrow we're going to try our hand at water polo.
Yeah, I sure hope those horses can swim.
Me too.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer. And less.
You're looking at two very special pickups. The one on the left, the most star program, the same one sold at the ballpark. This special edition highlights 51 years of all-star glory and is sure to become a collector's item. To order, send check or money order for $5 to All-Star Program, Box 8484, Trenton, New Jersey, 08650. Please make your check payable to All-Star Program. That's All-Star Program, Box 8484, Trenton, New Jersey.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
This is Don Zimmer, the third base coach of the Chicago Cubs, on a beautiful day in San Francisco, the game of the week. And this is Jimmy Fry's lineup for today's game. Bob Denier, who's done a great job for this ball club, has turned the club around, is leading off playing center field. Ryan Sandberg, who has been in a great hitting streak, and he has been voted on the All-Star team, playing second base. Gary Matthews, who's done a great job for us in left field. Batting fourth is Keith Moreland, filling in at first base for the Chicago Cubs. And Jody Davis, who is also picked for the All-Star game as the catcher. Thad Bosley playing right field. And today Ron Say will play third base and has always been a thorn in San Francisco Giants' back, playing third base. Owens playing shortstop, filling in for Larry Bowen, who's got some big hits for us in the last 2 or 3 days. And Rick Russo, the old-timer, who's doing a good job for us as the pitcher today.
And a look at the defensive alignment of the Giants as they're in the field.
As you see them, at third is Youngblood. Johnny Lemaster at short. Brad Wellman's their second baseman. Scott Thompson, the former Cub, will be at first base. Out and left, it's Jeff Leonard. Dan Gladden is a rookie center fielder just called up, and he's been just short of sensational here in a San Francisco uniform. Chili Davis, who normally plays center field for Frank Robinson's San Francisco Giants, has a thigh injury, and he's in right. The catcher, an all-star catcher, Bob Brindley. He's having an outstanding season. Here's Mike Krukow. He's the former Chicago Cub, and he will try to stop a 6-game winning streak that Chicago has against San Francisco as he works here this afternoon. He has pitched, as you can see, rather in and out on the season, and he's one that's going to have to get it together if Frank Robinson's going to climb from the basement in the Western Division.
Krukow came from the Phillies in December of '82. He was originally the Cubs' number 8 pick back in '73. And he was drafted before that by the Angels. Krukow born in Long Beach, California. There is Frank Robinson. He's guided the Giants to winning seasons in '81 and '82. A man who was rather controversial, oftentimes unpopular because of his attitude, likes to keep people at a distance, but a former great star. His Giants floundering. He really hasn't had much pitching, Mike, and that's been a big problem for him. Bob Denier will lead it off, batting .324. 21 runs batted in, 2 home runs. Denier has really solved the center field problem for the Cubs. The first pitch from Krukow is high and inside for a ball. Denier has reached safely, leading off for the Cubs in the first inning in 41 of 70 games that he's appeared. The veteran umpire Doug Harvey behind the plate. Strike on the inside corner. Joe West is the umpire at first, Frank Pulley at second, and Bob Davidson at third. 1 ball and 1 strike. Popped up and foul, coming back out of play. The Cubs start today 47-35, a half game up on the Mets, 12 games over the 500 mark, the best record so far this year for them. 7 years ago, they had a 3-game lead in the National League East. 7 years ago today. Fouled away.
And Lucky 7 was very prominent 7 years ago, 1977, and it was July 7th.
Krukow ready to come in. 1 ball and 2 strikes, and he just did get a piece of that. Denier came over from the Phillies. He hit only .231 for the Phillies last year, and as we mentioned, he has really solved the center field problems as he can do a job for you roaming the outfield. A long one into left, and Leonard has it measured, and there's the first out of the ball game. Dernier flies to Leonard in left.
Jeff Leonard makes it look easy here in Candlestick. Plays every day out in left field. It's not that easy, though.
Ryne Sandberg, .335 is the average. 52 runs batted in. He's hit 11 home runs. He has 20 doubles, 13 triples, leads the National League in those categories with 1 out. Down the line in left, foul. Ryne Sandberg with 115 hits on the All-Star team. That action here next Tuesday evening. This town really buzzing with the All-Star game coming up and the Democratic Convention. And at the moment, the Lions International are here from all over the world. Better than 15,000. That wonderful organization that does such great charity work, especially for the blind. They're having a good time. A play for LeMaster, and safe at first as Sandberg showed excellent speed, and LeMaster did not really hustle on this play as
he got caught in between, Jay. We'll watch this now. See him come in there, and he slips just that bit there, and that's why he had to stop. And then his throw was from a flat foot. See right there? He tries to get some momentum back so he can get something on the throw. You see it sinking there at the last part. He came in, and now he's fixing that particular spot where the sand moved from his feet.
Joe West, the first base umpire, called him safe, and it's an infield single. The 116th hit of the season for Sandberg, who leads the league in that department. Here's Gary Matthews.
When things are going well for you, like they are for the Chicago second baseman, even the playing field helps you.
Matthews leading the National League in walks with 54 and batting .272. 1 ball to count. There's a throw over.
Jay, when you're having a bad year, you'd be the one that slipped coming out of the box going down the line towards first base. When you're having a good year, the fielder has the sand slipped from under his feet.
The 33-year-old Matthews takes low. He was traded to Chicago, of course. The MVP of the National League playoffs. This fellow's a very graceful and aggressive gentleman under pressure. Matthews takes a strike on the inside corner. He homered here in the game last night. On Thursday night, the Cubs won 9-3. Last night, a 5-4 victory. They have taken 2 and all 6 this year from the Giants. The Chicago Cubs have hit 73 home runs, stolen 82 bases. They're running a lot more. Are the Chicago Cubs in 1984. The runner going, and the throw down, and he is safe. That's what they've been doing, and doing it in fine fashion. A good jump by Sandberg on the play.
Give you another look at it. Watch him take off. A good jump. 1, 2, 3. Really not that good of jump when he has only 3 steps before he releases the ball. The throw by Brindley was high. If it would have been down, they would have had him.
Strikeout as Matthews misses a 2-2 pitch. First strikeout for Krukow. That stolen base a moment ago, the 83rd of this season. The entire 83 season, Cubs stole only 84 bases.
Jimmy Fry has a new bit of material to work with, and the 2 guys up front, Dernier and Sandberg, are the reason why the offense is perking along. Dernier batting .324, that's 3rd in the league. Sandberg, .335, that's 2nd in the league. They've been on base so much this year, and they're running with it. So he has a lot to work with. The fellow that's really made the ball club is Dernier as the leadoff man. Not only has he solved the center field position, but also the leadoff spot.
This is Keith Moreland batting .275, popping it up into right field to end the inning. So Sandberg got the infield single, and he is stranded. At the end of a half inning of play here at Candlestick Park, no score.
I'm Mr. Goodwrench. Do you know what starts when your engine starts?
The game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front
Come
row.
on, come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy? He missed the tag! He missed the tag!
Hi, this is Dusty Baker with the San Francisco Giants. I have the honor and the privilege today to announce our lineup. Our leadoff hitter and exciting player, Dan Gladden. Our second hitter and catching, and our all-star, Bob Brindley. Our third hitter and also an all-star, Charles Chili Davis, playing right field. Our cleanup hitter, and should have been an all-star, Jeff Leonard. Batting fifth and playing first base, Scott Thompson. Batting sixth and playing third base, Joe Youngblood. And our shortstop, who's been playing outstanding as of late, Johnny LeMaster. Our second baseman, Brad Wellman. And our pitcher today is Mike Krukow, and I'd like to say to my mother and father, hello in Sacramento, California. And I'm not starting today, but I should be in the game before the game's over with.
All right, and a look at the defensive alignment for these Cubs.
Moreland will come from the outfield and play first base this afternoon. Ryan Sandberg, their all-star second baseman. The youngster Owen is at shortstop today, and he's played very well of late. Dave Owen. Ron Say is the very fine and veteran third baseman. Gary Matthews in left. Bob Dernier is their center fielder, and Thad Bosley will have the duties in right field. Their catcher, another all-star, Jody Davis, and he's putting it all together. On the mound today, Rick Rush. As we showed you before the ball game, going back in his career, he has lost a tremendous amount of weight, and he still is a good pitcher. He's a very good athlete.
35 years old, out of Quincy, Illinois. Came up back in '72, and he's set to face Dan Gladden. Gladden very fast, goes down to first in 3.4 seconds, has an 8-game hitting streak. At Phoenix earlier this season, he had 32 stolen bases, 70 runs scored, and he has that .386 average. He's done quite a job. Deep into the hole, and Owen comes up and safe at first. Owen playing for Larry Boa, frankly considered a better fielding shortstop than Boa, who has a little leg problem. Couldn't make the play.
Dan Gladden was hitting .397 at the AAA level in the Giants organization. No room for him up here. As you see him beat this play out, a difficult chance for the shortstop. There was no room for him, Jay, because of Jack Clark, Chili Davis, and Jeff Leonard. But with the injury to Clark and then Davis also being injured, he's had the opportunity to be playing every day here, and he's really capitalized on it.
Here's Bob Brindley batting .323, the catcher into center field, and Dernier is there, and there's one gone. He hit it right on the nose, but right at Dernier. That Brindley has been going good, Mike.
Really a nice young man, and he's tickled to be on the All-Star team. .323 the batting average, fourth in the league. And he's supplied home runs here also as the catcher with 34 RBIs. And here's a member also of the All-Star team, Chili Davis, coming off the injury.
Yeah, quite a story. Chili, now 24 years old, in the All-Star game. He was a catcher in high school. He's from Jamaica, but he grew up at L.A., went to Dorsey High School. And this time last year, they were ready to send him down after that very good first year that he had. And now he's going to be in the All-Star game next Tuesday. Throw over, Gladden is back. Gladden might want to do a little running. Chili has 24 multiple hit games so far this year and has hit in 22 of his last 27 games. Bottom of the first inning, 1 on, 1 out. Ball 1 to Chili Davis. Russell, his 13th start, the second this season against the Giants. Had an assortment of neck and shoulder ailments in spring training. Was on the disabled list. He didn't make his first start of the season until April 21st when he pitched against the Pirates at Wrigley Field. That was the day he came off the DL. He was released by the Yankees. Started his comeback at Quad Cities. And really quite a story. Low and outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Gladden, since coming up from the minors, 6 out of 7 in the stolen base department.
He had 32 bases stolen down there before they called him up.
2 balls and no strikes. And again, a throw over. And they do it again. Don Buford there, the first base coach, former star at USC.
And a heck of a baseball player.
Good man. Buford coaching at first, and Mr. Danny Ozark is across the diamond over at third, former Philly manager. And Gladden is going, and it's fouled away by Chili Davis.
Talking about Buford, Jake. He was an executive for one of the big national chains here in San Francisco. And when Frank Robinson was named manager, he talked this man out of leaving his position and coming on as the coach.
Good baseball man, no question about it. 2 balls and 1 strike as Chili Davis steps back in there against Rick Russell. And Gladden is going again. And it gets through. Gladden will go on to third. They're at the corners with 1 out.
Very alert play by Ron Say as the ball came from the outfield. It was missed by the shortstop. Went off his glove, and Say very alertly backing up the play, even though there was a man coming into his base. Keeps the man at first and at third. Otherwise, they would have both moved up. The Cubs will suffer a little today because of Durham being out of the lineup. He's their normal first baseman, so they've moved Moreland in first, and they put Bosley in right, so they have to suffer defensively.
Jeff Leonard, 22 runs batted in his last 23 games, and 288 is the average. Leonard probably became the Giants' best all-around outfielder last season. He led the club in runs batted in, has a fine arm. Out to the shortstop, double play possibility. They get 1, wide throw, and it's 1-0. The throw was wide at first base, where it looked like they had a chance to double up Leonard, and the Giants take the lead.
They should have had 2. A throw to the second baseman, but this throw by Sandberg pulls Moreland off of the base. It got there in time, but it was off target.
Leonard gets his 44th run batted in of the season. Here's Scott Thompson.
Once again, Jay, people moving around now on the Chicago team. Boa's not playing shortstop. Owen is in there. And you become very accustomed to someone playing next to you, and you know how he plays. That helps. When they change, then you have to suffer a bit.
Thompson's been on a hitting tear. He has 14 hits in his last 31 times at bat. And right back to Russell, fielding his position, throws him out. The Giants break on top. They lead it 1-0. Coming up tomorrow at Wimbledon, Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe in the men's singles. Here's a preview.
Tomorrow morning on center court, the men's finals, Americans McEnroe and Connors for breakfast at Wimbledon. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. Check.
It'll be Jody Davis to lead it off for the Cubs as we go to the second inning here. Along with Mike Shannon, Jay Randolph. Hope you're enjoying our NBC Game of the Week from Candlestick Park, wherever you are around the nation. Jody Davis with 58 RBIs is tied with Gary Carter for the run batted in lead in the National League.
Interesting story about Jody Davis. He was a Cardinal farmhand. Had a very serious injury in spring training. Had to rush him to the hospital. Had a serious operation. Missed most of the season that particular year. And then he wasn't protected by the Cardinal organization. Picked up by Chicago. And what a great selection he's been.
Davis with a 289 average. That's high. Ball 2. You know, Mike, Davis has made a big improvement defensively. Last year he had 21 pass balls. He has only 6 so far this year. And his improvement behind the plate has been very, very good indeed. A high shot into short left. Leonard coming in makes the play.
Tough sun field out there at this particular time. The sun field will move from left around towards right as we go along. And look at the sky, not a cloud in the sky. And when you hear baseball people say a high sky, they mean there is no clouds up there. And it's a little difficult to see the ball when you have that kind of weather condition.
Here's Thad Bosley. 167 is the average. Has an RBI. At Iowa, he was hitting .361. Had blasted 6 home runs. His contract purchased from Iowa on June the 25th, and he fouls that one away trying to bunt it down the line. And if he'd have kept it in fair ground, he would have been at first easily.
That was Kruko's changeup. He has an alley-oop that he flares up there, and that was exactly it. If you could have seen Bosley, he had to hesitate. Looked like he was bunting by the numbers. Watch it. We'll show it to you as we go along here after he does something, if we can.
That's just outside, 1-1. Bosley's 27 years old. With Oakland last March, of course. He's from California. He was the California League Player of the Year in '76 with Salinas. Very talented musician and composer. Piano player. That's it foul, and that hurt a little bit.
With what those rock stars are getting today, maybe he's in the wrong field here.
Michael Jackson opened in Kansas City last night. They say it was quite a happening.
Drew more than the Royals, huh?
Yeah, he did. Down the line in right, a fair ball. And he'll go for 2 and make at least 2. He might try for 3. He's on the go. Play at third, safe. A triple into the corner by Bosley.
Very important that he get to third base, and that's why they took the chance and sent him. With 1 out, you take a chance. Nobody out, you can keep him at second base. But Chili Davis couldn't get it off the concrete fence, had to play it all the way into the corner, and Bosley just kept on motoring.
The boos you hear are a rather cool welcome for Mr. Ron Say, who will step in. First triple of the season. Bad Bosley. Here is Say batting at .229, but 46 runs batted in, 12 home runs, and the reason they boo him here is he played for the Dodgers. Everybody that ever played for the Dodgers comes into Candlestick, and
I was going to ask you, if it's because he played for the Dodgers or because he plays so well against San Francisco.
Well, it might be a little of both, but here's one into left. Leonard is coming on. He can't get there. It's going to be a 1-1 game. Bosley comes home, and the RBI is number 47 on the year for Say. Say, an excellent clutch hitter over his career.
Batting in the 7th spot, and he has 47 RBIs.
Pretty good job, isn't it? Maybe this is why they boo him.
I guarantee he could make a living off of San Francisco pitching all through his career.
Dave Owen is starting at shortstop today for the Cubs, and he takes a strike on the outside corner. Owen, 26 years old, a switch hitter. He led the American Association shortstops in fielding percentage last year. Fouls that one away.
He's the heir apparent to the shortstop position here.
Yeah, they like the way he plays that position. But Larry Boa has given a great deal of leadership to the Cubs in recent years, and of course still handles the bat rather well. 1 on, 1 out, 1 run home in a 1-1 game here at Candlestick. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Dave Owen. Owen is from Cleburne, Texas. He went to school at the University of Texas at Arlington. 2-2. You mentioned, Mike, that these Cubs are without Leon Durham. He'll be back after the All-Star break. He's the big bat for them.
They have a couple of their pitchers that are coming back also. This is way foul as he get it up into the wind off to the right. It really carries well here. But they had Sanderson pitch in this series and pitched very well as he picked up a win. You see Leon Durham, he was injured, and he'll come back the first game after the All-Star break. And you also mentioned about Dick Ruthven pitching at Lodi and doing well. He'll be available before long.
Strikeout. The second strikeout for Krukow. Yeah, you know, Durham with that jammed right shoulder, and they missed Lake with hepatitis. Ruthven had the shoulder surgery. Verizon with a broken thumb. Hasse with a left knee problem. The Cubs have had their problems physically.
And when you look at their roster, they have listed only one catcher. That is Jody Davis. But the man playing first base today could catch if you have to. But if Jody Davis goes down now, they could be in real trouble.
Russell pops it up into left center, and the center fielder Gladden makes the play. But the Cubs get the triple and the RBI from Say, and it's tied up 1-1.
I crushed a lot of quarterbacks in my day, and I'm real sorry. So I wrote this letter. Dear quarterbacks, I apologize for the way I treated you. Please let me buy you a light beer from Miller. Light's my beer because it tastes great. I'm sure it's yours, too, because you little guys can't afford to get filled up. Hope to see you soon. Sincerely, L.C. Greenwood.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
There we were in no man's land when the moving truck died in the sun and the sand.
I hear that L.C. Greenwood has invited quarterbacks to join him for a light beer from Miller. Well, here's my reply. Dear L.C., I accept your gracious offer. A quarterback is far too intelligent to turn down a light beer because it's less filling and it tastes great. Even you big, clumsy linemen know that. Hope to see you here soon. Sincerely, Bert Jones. Come on, Bert!
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
How'd he do that?
The American tradition continues. For 15 summers, baseball's resident genius, Earl Weaver, managed Baltimore to 4 American League pennants. Now, Joe Altobelli leads the world champion Orioles in their drive to regain pennant fever as they take on the White Sox. Or the Giants battle the Pirates. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
Hope you'll join us next Saturday afternoon as NBC brings you 2 very interesting matchups, the Sox and the Orioles, the Giants and the Pirates. The Pirates are a mystery, aren't they, Mike?
A lot of people thought they were going to contend very heavily this year in the East, but they have fallen on bad times, much like the San Francisco club. They're both 16 out on the bottom of their respective divisions, and they've struggled from day one, both of the clubs.
Joel Youngblood leading it off. Youngblood, only 2 hits in his last 26 times at bat. He has 34 RBIs, 6 home runs, 267 the average.
And there's why Rick Russell has been a winner during his career. The sinker. His ball goes down in a big hurry, and it's also a heavy ball.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Youngblood, who's been a pleasant surprise with the Giants. Tell me what you mean by a heavy ball.
Now, I had a guy ask me that one time, Jay.
You know what
I had the opportunity, as you see the strikeout here on the breaking ball, I had the opportunity to say, okay, come on over here. I knew 2 guys, one that threw a very heavy ball and one that didn't. So I said, I'll let you have the demonstration yourself there. One guy threw it, he caught it, and the next guy threw it, the heavy one, and it's just heavier. When it hits into your hand, it is heavier, and they throw, if you took the velocity, maybe the heavy ball would be slower, but weighs more when it hits your hand. And Russell's a guy like that, and it means a lot because when it hits the bat, it really crushes into the baseball bat. It doesn't come off of it as good. A lighter ball flies off the bat.
All right, they say a curveball is an optical illusion, too, but I'm not so sure. Johnny LeMaster's batting .228. The strikeout of Youngblood was the first for Russell.
It was when my bat came after it.
LeMaster with 25 RBIs, 4 home runs, fouls it away. LeMaster has a 7-game hitting streak going at the moment. He is a streak hitter, no question about that. 30 years old. They call him Bones. He's worked very hard to beef up and to strengthen his body. Mike Shannon, you and I'll have the opportunity later in today's game to pick the player of the game, the Miller Highlight Player of the Game, as the Cubs and the Giants go at it. That's low. Well, is this an optical illusion or isn't it from Russell? The curveball.
Well, let's see. It starts way up there, goes way outside.
How do they do that? LeMaster, opposite field into right, and on the run, it's Bosley, but he can't get there. He crashes into the pitching area down there, and it's going to be a triple with 1 out for LeMaster. Bosley got hung up in the bullpen down there, among other things.
And also, as you see the dirt mark on his uniform pants, you'll see where they had camera day here earlier this morning, and the folks really chewed up the field right in that area. It goes into the bullpen, and you have to dig it out as you see the right fielder get to his feet and get it back in. There's another look at it. Right in that area, the ball hits his foot and then into the bullpen, and he's really fortunate that the ball hit his foot. If it didn't, he may have circled the bases.
In a 1-1 game, Wellman is at the plate, the second baseman batting .245. 10 runs batted in, a home run, and a chance to put the Giants on top. The infield is pulled in.
Squeeze play could be in order here also, Jay, although Robinson has not squeezed much during his career. He's flashing some signs now.
No, he doesn't bunt very often. Many people think that's an influence from Earl Weaver. Swing and a miss as Russell took something off that one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The scoreboard is even up. 1 run on 3 hits for the Cubs, 1 run on 3 hits for the Giants. LeMaster is at third with 1 gone. Bottom of the 2nd inning.
Sweeping.
Struck him out.
There's a pitch that Rick Russell has really developed over the past few years. A sidearm, slow curve. He takes something off, and watch the break that he gets on it, especially the last 5 or 6 feet as it approaches the plate. Drops down, throws it high, and look at it just sail in there. When you're looking at that sinker, and then he throws you that particular pitch, you can see the great difference in it, and it worked for him that time.
Here's Krukow batting .172, and he takes high. Wellman had a few words for the plate umpire, the crew chief, the veteran Doug Harvey, before he went back to the dugout. Down the right side, foul.
I don't know if he was trying to take the sting off of his embarrassment from the curveball, but that thing had the inside corner all the way across to the outside corner. Many times the player's not arguing with the umpire. He's just saying, excuse me, but it looks bad enough when I miss this ball. How about let's just talking about it? And then the umpire says, oh, you want to make me look bad instead of you.
Russell now with 1 ball and 2 strikes to Krukow. Another foul. The San Francisco Giants start the day as a team batting at .270. They've banged out 64 home runs, stolen 53 bases. They've committed a lot of errors, 87. And this will play for Bosley, who came out of nowhere. He rushed in front of that one as Krukow made a bid to put his club in the lead.
The ball always carries back towards the line here, and that helped Bosley. He missed the other one, the triple. This one he catches.
We'll be right back with more after these messages from your local station.
Saturday Night Live welcomes host Michael Douglas.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Plus Denise Williams, the Footloose Kenny Loggins, and more on Saturday Night Live.
Many more.
Bob Denier will lead it off as we move into the 3rd inning in a 1-1 game. Denier, who flied to left to start things off this afternoon. Cubs have won 4 in a row. The Giants had won 6 in a row. Lost a doubleheader here the other day to the Cardinals, and then a gone down in the first 2 games here. 1 ball and 1 strike to Denier. That's a little low. 2-1. Denier has had 2 5-hit games this season. Play made by Thompson and out at first. Krukow got over there in pretty good fashion. There's 1 gone.
He had to. Denier can get down the line, and he made Mike hustle to make certain he got there and just in the nick of time. Thompson, a fine play and a very good underhand toss. He led the pitcher perfectly.
Krukow ready to come in to Sandberg. An infield single and a stolen base in the first inning. What a year this fella's having. Probably was the most underrated second baseman in the game. Not anymore. Youngblood throws him out. There are 2 gone.
Well, right here on the game of the week, he put on a demonstration for the folks around the country. A few weeks back against the Cardinal Ball Club, when he hit 2 home runs, 1 to tie it in the 9th and then another to win it in the 10th in extra innings, and both of those home runs came off of the Cardinal ace, Bruce Sutter. Now, you can have a good career if you hit 2 home runs off of Bruce Sutter. He hit 2 home runs off of him back-to-back.
Gary Matthews out to LeMaster, who throws on to Thompson, and the Cubs go quietly in the 3rd. After 2.5, it's 1-1.
Nearly 4 hours. That's how long it took us to paint this
basketball team and the NBA All-Star team. Pre-Olympic exhibition action. You'll see Michael Jordan, Georgetown's intimidating center Patrick Ewing, and that scoring machine from Oklahoma, Wayman Tisdale. And they'll go for the Olympians. The NBA All-Stars feature Bill Walton, Kelly Tripucka, and many more. Great basketball with Don Criqui and the coach, Al McGuire, tomorrow on Sports World. Reminder, too, about the times. 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 3 p.m. in the Los Angeles area for that coverage tomorrow. Leading it off is Gladden. 2 balls the count. Rick Russell with a record of 4-4. On the mound this afternoon for the Chicago Cubs, leading the National League East. A bunt. Say comes on and in time. Boy, a fine play by Ronnie Say. Up the line, barehanded it and threw on.
You won't see a better play by a 3rd baseman as long as you come to the ballpark. Great bunt by the rookie, and look at this play by the 3rd baseman. Phenomenal. Just a great play. He had to barehand the ball. It stayed down on the grass, threw off the opposite foot. That was excellent.
The Penguin can do it. Here's Brenly. He lined to center field in the first inning. The Giants got 1 in the first. The Cubs tied it up in the second. Well, it looked like Brenly might be thinking about doing a little bunting as he took ball 1.
I'd say, well, you could do that once. Let's see. You can't. You could never do it twice, could you?
That's inside for ball 2. And foul outside of 3rd. Brenly has done an excellent defensive job. We talked about Jody Davis's improvement. But in addition to catching, of course, this fellow has played the outfield and first base. The handy man to have around 30 years old. Mike, it's a little unusual, isn't it, to have a catcher hitting in the number 2 position?
Most catchers don't bat .323. That's why. Plain and simple.
This fella battled his way through the minors. He wasn't drafted. Started at Great Falls back in '76. And let's see. Russell got over there. Boy, he's a good athlete. He knows where to go and handles himself very well. Did when he had all that poundage and does an even better job now. He's battled back from all these injuries.
We talked about the Defense suffering somewhat because of some of the switches, but when you have veterans like this, Russell and Say, you see they're right where they're supposed to be. Excellent defense by the veterans in the early going.
So Brenly grounds out 4-1, and with 2 gone, here's Chili Davis. He singled in the first inning. Davis coming back from an operation that repaired torn ligaments in his left ankle. Made the all-rookie team, of course, in '82. The Sporting News voting him to that team.
And as you say, he got in the doghouse out here last year. Frank Robinson sent him to the minor leagues.
1 ball and 1 strike with 2 gone. Right up the middle. Boy, Russell ducked his head under that one. Right at him. So Davis is 2 for 2 on the afternoon.
He's celebrating his appointment to the National League All-Star team. 2 for 2. Chili is a switch hitter. He's a very fine outfielder, and he has good speed. And that's one reason why Paul Owen took him. He can use him in a lot of ways.
Jeff Leonard got the RBI in the first. He lines out to Owen right here to end it. No runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 left. They've stranded 3. At the end of 3, it's 1-1.
This camping trip was a good idea. Yeah, it sure is relaxing. Peaceful. Groovy.
Groovy? Kind of dark, though. Man, I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah, let's have another light beer from Miller. Light glass filling!
Let's
What was that?
The creature.
What creature?
Well, legend has it that a horrible thing stalked these woods.
Oh, Mickey!
It comes out when the moon is full.
What does this creature look like?
It walks on 2 legs, but it isn't human. It's got big eyes that bulge out and...
It's the creature!
Hey, guys, where you going? Hey, guys, where are the marshmallows?
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Come on, it's after us! Man, did you see that thing? Suck it into the...
This is an apology from Ford Escort to Fred's garage. Now Fred's
Wrigley Field as the Reds and the Cubs got into it. Number 4 right there, Don Zimmer, the third base coach now of the Cubs, and he intercepted Mario Soto in there and tried to break him up, and there's Don at third base. Had that to say about it. He said he got the worst of it, Mike.
To say the least, but what he was trying to do was get in front of Soto so he wouldn't get to the umpire. If you touch an umpire in this game, you can get yourself a life suspension.
Keith Moreland will lead it off in the 4th. He flied to right back in the first inning. You know, Don Zimmer has never drawn a check that wasn't from baseball. This man has been in the game all the way. And a good baseball man he is.
Excellent baseball man. Been a manager.
Loves thoroughbred horse racing. I'm reminded you'll see the Breeders' Cup, of course, here on NBC. Our director, John Gonzalez, will be very much involved in that. What an afternoon that will be next October at Hollywood Park, when they'll put about $10 million on the line for the very best in thoroughbred racing.
7 races, if I'm not mistaken.
You'll see it all on NBC. Pop back, out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Moreland.
Moreland's a much different hitter now than he used to be because he takes the ball into right field like that. At one time, he liked to pull everything. But when he came from Philadelphia to Chicago, he changed his hitting style to go the other way more often. Much like the bull that used to be at Philadelphia, Greg Luzinski.
He's been a liability somewhat on defense, but makes up for it. LeMaster at shortstop makes the play in time. 1 down. We're talking about the basketball tomorrow on Sports World. You know, Mike, I have the pleasure of doing the Big 8 games. Wayman Tisdale will be in that game and is on Bobby Knight's club. If you haven't seen Mr. Tisdale and company, the fellows who will represent us in the Olympics, be with us tomorrow on Sports World.
They have quite a team. They've given the NBA All-Stars a lesson a few times already. And boy, won't that be great? The Los Angeles area is just buzzing with the coming of the Summer Olympics.
Jody Davis flied to left to start the second inning. 1 ball and 1 strike to him with 1 gone here in the 4th. It's a 1-1 game. The Giants have 4 hits. The Cubs have 3. That's inside. The Cubs 24-21 on the road. Yet they had the 2nd worst record on the road last year in the National League. Dallas Green has made this team a much better team. They play better on turf and they play better at night. They've won 24 games on the road this season. Last year they won only 28 for the entire year. That's some kind of turnaround. 2-2.
You mentioned on turf also. We're playing this game on the natural surface, and that's how Chicago plays in their home park, on natural surface. But you know how many parks around the National League have AstroTurf, and they were, the Cubs last year, 13-35 on AstroTurf. This year, as you see the slider in at the knees for the strikeout, they've already won 13 on artificial surface this year, and that's because of those 2 guys at the top, Dernier and Sandberg. They've utilized the speed, and on AstroTurf, that's what pays off.
Krukow picks up his 3rd strikeout, and with 2 gone, it'll be Thad Bosley. He tripled and scored in the 2nd. The Cubs have improved in the field, certainly. They've committed 65 errors. And only the Cardinals and the Mets have committed less. The Cardinals have the best fielding percentage from the standpoint of errors. They have committed only 54. The Mets have committed 60. And then come the Cubs. San Francisco, on the other hand, is 11th in the league with 87 errors. Philadelphia with 96. Youngblood across the diamond. And the Cubs are down 1-2-3 in the 4th. After 3.5 innings of play at Candlestick Park, the Cubs and the Giants tied at 1.
Working hard against the clock. Good bean Chris for the Cajun cutie from her jealous husband. It's a hot night rider Sunday.
Along with Mike Shannon, Jay Randolph with you here at Candlestick. Here in old San Francisco, they call it the stick. It can be a problem for you, but so far we haven't had any wind come up to really cause any problem for the outfielders.
Just wait a while. It'll be here, I guarantee you. It comes, it goes, and it can really get you in trouble.
We've got a 1-1 game going, the Cubs and the Giants, and the Cubs having a very fine road trip. They have really been playing excellent baseball on this trip. 7-2 in the 9 games that they have played on this West Coast swing. Thompson leading it off against Russell here in the 4th inning. He grounded out back in the 1st. Little breeze blowing now, and as Mike Shannon indicated, it usually starts to pick up about this time of day.
And what I like about it, when you have the state flag blowing one way and the USA flag blowing the other directly at one another, and it happens in this ballpark. They're only about 20 feet apart out there, and we've seen them touching, blowing at one another.
That's not an optical illusion, is it?
Hard to believe, but it's true.
The first walk given up by Rick Russell puts Thompson at first. And Joel Youngblood will stand in. He struck out back in the 2nd. Youngblood is a versatile player. He's been around, was with Cincinnati, St. Louis, New York, Montreal. He was an all-star for the Mets in '81. Tonight in the National League, Cincinnati plays the Mets in New York. Quite a pitching pairing there. Soto against Gooden. Houston's at Montreal, Pittsburgh at San Diego. They pitch out, and they got him dead to rights.
Good hit and run trio there, and the Cubs were alert to it. They get the sign some way or another, and they had him dead to rights. They pitched out. There was nothing that Youngblood could do, and they cut him down perfectly. Jody Davis with the pitch out. Watch this. He jumps out there. Youngblood can't reach the pitch on the hit and run, and easily is Scott Thompson out at second. He couldn't even slide.
One strike to count to Youngblood with one gone now. St. Louis at Los Angeles tonight.
You ought to see. We'll get a picture of Frank Robinson down there. He's walking up and down the dugout. Now he settles down at his spot right on the end. But he's concerned now that they picked up his sign some way or another. You just see that wind.
It's starting to whip up here. That's just outside. A sweeping curve that didn't make it. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Frank Robinson. Boy, was he some kind of player. MVP, both leagues.
Now he ducks back in behind the wall there.
That hit him.
That pitch.
Oh, Youngblood will go to first base with 1 out.
Sinker runs in on the right-handed batters, and if you think outside, that ball will come inside and get you, as you see Joel have the ball strike in.
We're mentioning St. Louis playing at L.A. tonight, Mike. The Cardinals will be taking a look at the youngster Rick Owenby up from their farm club. And folks in the L.A. area want to take that one in tonight. Owenby against Pena.
And also announced by that Cardinal Ball Club that Joaquin Andujar will not come to Candlestick Park here for the All-Star game, and Fernando Valenzuela has been announced as his replacement, and that's great. That's 4 years in a row now.
Into the hole in left. Runners at first and second as LeMaster got it through there, and LeMaster, who tripled in the second inning, is 2 for 2. Andujar has returned to the Dominican Republic due to the very serious illness of his grandfather. Jim Fry coming out to talk things over at this point. Fry getting a second chance to manage after he guided the Royals to a 127-105 record before his dismissal in mid-'81. Took Kansas City to the World Series in '80. Down in the bullpen, it's Rainey loosening up for the Cubs. Chuck Rainey. Now the home plate umpire, Doug Harvey, making his way out to the mound.
Boy, a big play on that pitch out to cut down Thompson. Youngblood then hit by the pitch. Now LeMaster singles. That is a big, big out. I've noticed that Frank Robinson has left his normal spot down there. He's gone in behind the wall or in on the bench somewhere. Can't see him now. Now he comes back out. So
he's
concerned about them picking up the signs, and he's disgusted.
Talking things over with
his pitching coach there.
Pitching coach Starrett. Brad Wellman takes low for a ball. Youngblood is at second. LeMaster at first. 1 out. A 1-1 game, bottom of the 4th inning here at Candlestick. Fouled away. 1-1.
I guess you can ask the question about how good is the Chicago pitching staff now. Their biggest winner is warming in the bullpen now. He's been relegated to bullpen duty. Rainey won 14 games last year for Chicago, but they've really bolstered that.
Into left, and it gets away from Matthews, and the bases are going to be loaded. Matthews trying to make the play on that ball that really sank quickly in front of him.
Well, that's what the ball does when it goes out there. It fights the wind, and what happens, it dives, goes down and to the right. And you see Gary, stop and wait for it. It got down before he could get his glove on it. You've
It's
got
an
to charge.
error charged to Matthews. E7. The bases loaded. Youngblood, LeMaster, and Wellman out there. Mike Krukow will have a chance to put his team up. And he talked things over there with Danny Ozark, the third base coach.
Russell's thrown a lot of pitches. A lot of pitches have you seen there on the screen.
Matthews committing that error. It's his 9th error of the season.
That's way, way too much for an outfielder.
Fly ball into center field. Dernier with the glasses down makes the play. They send Youngblood. They're going to make the play at third. Safe there, and the runner goes to second, and the Giants lead it 2-1.
If he doesn't double pump, they throw the man out at third base. Then they'd have had the double play, and he may not have scored.
First RBI of the season for Krukow.
I don't know why. Evidently, he couldn't get his handle on the ball. That's why he hesitated and had to take another step. That step cost him because he would have been out there at third, and the run may have not counted. If he's out at third before the runner crosses the plate, then it's not allowed. He couldn't get his hand on it, had to re-grip it right there, you see. Costly mistake.
Oh, 1 run home, 2 on and 2 out. Here's Gladden. An infield single in the first when he scored, and he grounded out in the third. A changeup and a swing and a miss. Five hits now for the Giants. And a problem for Russell, and another run comes home. Russell should have had it. Got the ball on the glove and then slipped on the mound. Came up empty, and it is 3-1 Giants.
They're going to give him a hit on it, but Rick Russell is a very good athlete. You ask him, he'll tell you he should have had that. Just went off the end of his glove, and that's all it took. The youngster Gladden runs very well. He gets to first base easily. It's an RBI single for him, and he's 2 for 3 today.
And Brenly is going to be at the plate, but I think that's going to be all for Rick Russell.
Yep, we're going to get
Jim
a new
Fry walking slowly to the mound, and my guess is that he's out of the game. He has to be. It's the second visit out there.
Somebody has to leave.
Somebody does, that's right. So Russell, who couldn't come up with that ball hit by Gladden, and then had the error behind him committed by Matthews, leaves this game. We'll be back with more from Candlestick in just a moment.
If you miss Summer Sunday, USA, you missed McGovern squaring off with Watt.
Town clown.
It's first time out of the bullpen. He's been a starter. 5-7 the record, and the first pitch to Brenly is high. Rainey from San Diego became a Cub December of '82 when he was acquired from the Red Sox in exchange for pitcher Doug Berg. The runner goes from first, and he'll have to come back as that one's fouled away, and it's 1-1. The Giants have played at 2 here in the bottom of the 4th and lead it 3-1.
Rather unusual inning. A walk and then an attempted hit and run. The man was out stealing on a pitch out. Then Youngblood hit by a pitch. LeMaster got a base hit. An error, a big error by the left fielder. A sacrifice fly by the pitcher. An infield single, and the runner's going again.
And he'll be there as Brenly took a cut and came up empty.
That kid Gladden has come on the big league scene like he's playing out in the sandlot somewhere. Nothing slowed him down.
That's his forte, that speed.
He came in hitting .386 today, and he's 2 for 3.
And foul just outside the line. Friendly hit it hard, and a good angle as you see it, just foul. Third base by our crew, headed up by our producer director David Neal and John Gonzalez. Friendly hit .292 in April, .373 in May, .267 in June. So far in July, he's 10 out of 24. That's low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 runs home, 2 out. At third base, Ad Wellman. Gladden's over there at second. Into right field. Bosley has it measured. Or Bosley, I should say, excuse me. Well, that'll do it. 2 runs for the Giants. It's 3-1 San Francisco. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
You miss some.
Sheriff Lobo couldn't get elected town clown.
It's comedy and action. Hold on, boy. The beat.
48-year-old Frank Robinson, born in Beaumont, Texas, but reared just across the way in Oakland, California. And across from him, Jim Fry. You remember he was bad rapped for having Dave Steve bat in the '81 All-Star game, but there was no pinch hitter available. Freddie Lynn had gone to the clubhouse and didn't tell Fry. 52 years old from Cleveland, Ohio. Ron Say to lead it off in the 5th. 1 for 1 today. The single and RBI in the 2nd. Giants leading at 3-1 as we move into the 5th. Say hits it on the ground, deep in the hole. A master with the long throw in time.
Nothing wrong with that man's arm. Very fine play, deep into the hole.
In the American League East, Detroit started the day 6 ahead of Toronto. Chicago, Minnesota, and California all tied at the top of the American League West. It'll be a very interesting race over there. Here's Owen. Owen is struck out in the 2nd, playing at shortstop this afternoon for Jim Fry's Chicago Cubs. Center fielder Gladden brings the glasses down and makes the play.
He did that properly, too. See, he saw where the baseball was, then he put the glasses down. If you put the glasses down immediately when it goes up, you won't be able to see it sometimes. See, he sees the ball. Now he flips him down.
Rainey will stand in. Russell went 3 2/3. He gave up 3 runs on 6 hits. He struck out 2, walked 1, and hit a batter.
At the top of the show, we showed you the 1977 game which Russell pitched. He was 20-10 that year, as the Cubs win first place for quite a while.
Rainey strikes out. The 4th strikeout of the afternoon for Krukow. Watch your '84 Olympic basketball team tomorrow and see how they stack up against the NBA's best. Here's a preview.
Just when you thought you saw the best in basketball, along come the greats in basketball. Kelly Tripucka, Michael Jordan, and great matchups. Ralph Sampson and Patrick Ewing. The U.S. Olympic basketball team takes on the NBA All-Stars live on NBC Sports World.
Mr. Oakner, time for your conference call.
Get me Jackson and Peoria.
The site of the All-Star game, the Bay Area really getting revved up, of course, for the All-Stars who will be coming in here. And there's Chile, who'll lead it off here on the left. Friendly on the right. And, of course, Ricky Henderson will be here for the American League. Dave Kingman will not. 2 for 2 today for Chili Davis. as he leads off the 5th inning. The Giants are leading it 3-1, 3-6-0 for San Francisco, 1-3-1 for the Cubs. Chuck Rainey in relief of Rick Russell. Doug Harvey, the home plate umpire, and a single up the middle, and Davis is 3 for 3.
He's showing everyone why he was selected to the All-Star team, isn't he? Whew.
Swinging a very hot bat.
Didn't matter who was pitching either. He got 2 base hits off of the starter Russell, and the first pitch thrown to him today by the relief pitcher, Chuck Rainey. He drills it exactly where he hit the one off of Russell into center field.
Jeff Leonard rounded out, got an RBI in the 1st, lined out in the 3rd. Rainey faked the throw over, and
the first base umpire called a balk, but he didn't know that the home plate umpire had called time.
Time had been called.
So that's what the fans over on the first base side are having some fun with.
I'll talk with you, Mike, about the balk rule. It's changed a little bit. That's fouled off the plate.
Well, they've rewritten the rule. It's not that the interpretation is any different this year than it has been in the past. They have actually rewritten one particular phase of the balk.
And it has to do with the stop.
Correct. It used to be that if you just came down and you stopped at a position, you could do anything else you wanted. For instance, you could come down with your hands, keep them going, and start up with your foot and keep going with the hands, then stop. But now you have to stop before you start up with the leg.
And we saw it right there, and here is Leonard singling into left, and Chile goes on to 3rd.
Another
Great
good reason.
runner.
Yes, another good reason. And we talked about Chile Davis and some of his abilities, great speed, and alertly, he just kept on going into 3rd.
Number 41, first baseman Scott Thompson.
Just into the hole, as you see Leonard turn on that sinker from Rainey, and Davis all the way to 3rd base as Danny Ozark flashes the sign for how many outs there are. None.
Runners at 1st and 3rd for Scott Thompson, and he takes low for a ball. Thompson grounded out in the 1st and walked in the 4th, and then was out stealing.
The Cubs will give the run and take the double play if they get the ground ball.
They get one right up the middle. 4-1 Giants.
And over to 3rd base goes Leonard as they're just running wild here. Dernier having a little trouble out there.
Yeah, Dernier again had trouble getting the ball out of his glove. 2nd time in this game.
Let's take a look. I think they give him an error. Yes, they do. The 2nd error of the game. Thompson really tees off. Low ball hitter. He drills it out there. He can't come up with it. And once again, an error by the Chicago outfield. Dernier has not made very many errors this year.
Brewster up and throwing in the bullpen for the Cubs down the line and left. Youngblood, there's Brewster. Youngblood has struck out. He was hit by a pitch in the 4th and scored, and that's low. And Rainey, who got Brenly to end the 4th, hasn't been able to get anybody out here in the 5th. And a good stop by Davis on a ball in the dirt. 9 hits now for the Giants.
You see how the field is cut here. I'm sure that you can see that checkerboard effect. They do that purposely.
Foul. And this field is in very good shape, except for the problems that are created today by this big crowd here for camera day on the field. But I'm sure it'll be looking very, very good come Tuesday night.
The reason they cut the field like that both ways, they send the cutter, then the ball will stay straight when it rolls. If you cut it just the one way, it'll just keep on going. It gets a nap to it. in a grain where it just would keep going in one direction. So they cut it both ways so the ball was straight.
Right. Do the same thing on the greens. Speaking of greens, don't forget next weekend the Anheuser-Busch Golf Classic on NBC from Kings Mill on the James in Williamsburg, Virginia. 4-1, the Giants leading. A throw over to first. Back in time. Scott Thompson. Thompson's there at first. Leonard is over at third. Davis is already home. There are none out. And it's 4-1 Giants. And the 2-2 pitch. 3-2, and the ball just getting away a couple of feet from Davis. Youngblood is a handy man to have around. He can play the outfield or the infield positions. Born in Houston, Texas. Payoff pitch, the runner going, and it's fouled away, and we'll do it again. Youngblood hit .317 in the second half of the '83 season. I'm reminded that on August 4th of '82, Youngblood got a hit for the Mets and for Montreal in the same day.
That's like the famous trade made between two National League clubs where they switched players in the middle of a doubleheader. After the first game, one player went from one side and took the place of another. They switched dugouts. That's happened before in the game. We've had some interesting things happen in the past 5 or 10 years. Charlie Finley out here in this area trading a manager for a player.
That's right.
Chuck Tanner going to Pittsburgh.
And a walk to Youngblood. That loads them up with none out for Johnny LeMaster. First walk given up by Rainey. LeMaster tripled in the second, singled and scored in the fourth, and the Giants with an opportunity to break this one wide open.
The infielders will play in at the corner. Now they bring them all the way. Now they bring the shortstop and the second baseman in, so they'll come home. Everybody will come home with the baseball, and you can get the double play home to first. That's what they're looking for.
High for a ball to Johnny LeMaster.
LeMaster has good speed. It's difficult to double him.
There's the infield alignment.
There's a lot of high-priced personnel on that infield.
Fouled away. LeMaster hitting .255 with runners in scoring position. 17 RBIs. Chuck Rainey in a heap of trouble here. Say, Owen, Sandberg, and Moreland have to be alert. Popped up. Davis shades his eyes. Makes the play. One gone.
Great play by him there. He never moved the glove. He just positioned his body around the movement of his gloves so he could see the baseball and shade his eyes from the sun. You can't wear sunglasses when you're catching.
Brad Wellman struck out in the second, reached on an error committed by Matthews in the fourth.
That was a big out. Now Chicago could get out of this difficult jam.
With one out, Wellman takes a strike at the knees.
They still have the infield in, although the shortstop and the second baseman could take the conventional double play depending on where the baseball is hit to them. With the pitcher up next, though, Jay, they want to force that man at the plate.
This is foul into the seats. Rainey could use the strikeout. No balls and 2 strikes. There are the runners. Leonard. Thompson out there at second. Youngblood over at first. The Ducks are on the pond for the Giants, who lead it 4-1. And the strikeout, a big one for Rainey right there. His first. Well, he's got an opportunity to get out of here with only 1 run scoring.
Number 39.
He gets Wellman on this breaking ball. Slider low and away. A very good pitch. And if you'll take a look at the action at the end of the Giant lineup today, it hasn't been good. Wellman has been in a key spot 3 times in succession, and he has not been able to produce. The only time that he did is when he hit the ball into left field, and it was air on Matthews.
Krukow has lined out, fly to center. In the 4th, he got an RBI. To the shortstop. They make the play, and they get out of the jam with only 1 run coming across the plate. After 5 innings at Candlestick Park, the Giants lead it 4-1.
I mortgaged my house to get my first tug. Believe me, the G...
Tradition continues here at NBC with our coverage of the game of the week and our coverage of the Crazy Crab. Boy, he is, I guess, the most unpopular mascot in Major League Baseball. He's been entertaining, though, while we've been away. It's 4-1, the Giants. And it is Dernier leading it off as we come to the 6th inning. He's flied out and grounded out.
And Mike Krukow is doing what he has to do if San Francisco is going to get back in this. He has retired the last 11 Chicago Cubs that he's faced.
And he's thrown only 62 pitches so far. He's done an excellent job. 1 ball and 1 strike to Dernier. He started the day batting at .324, down to .321. And a play for LeMaster. And in time. One out.
Jay, usually when you leave 8 men on in the ball game through the first 5 innings, things don't go your way too often. Here, it has, as far as the Giants are concerned. And it's because Mr. Krukow is rolling along. That's a dozen straight that he's put back into the dugout.
A strike to Ryan Sandberg. He got an infield single and stole a base in the 1st, grounded out in the 3rd. Came from the Phillies with Larry Boa prior to '82 for Ivan De Jesus.
You mentioned 1982 in that big trade. Dallas Green joined the Chicago Cubs in 1981, Jay, and there are only 3 players left from the time that he first came.
LeMaster throws out Sandberg, and they're 2 gone. As we remind you, this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. The Cubs organization has made some changes. Only 3 players on the current roster were originally signed by the Cubs: Dave Owen, Henry Cotto, and Lee Smith.
And only 3 remain here since Dallas Green came: Smith, Durham, and Davis.
Gary Matthews is struck out and grounded out.
I'd say he made a few changes, and he took a lot of Philadelphia Phillies. He was the farm director, Dallas Green was, at Philadelphia, then their manager, then came over to Chicago as the general manager.
That's high. 3-0.
He had a very good idea about some of these young players in the Philadelphia organization, and one of them, and a key man in that trade, was the second baseman, Sandberg. He's really developed and paid off.
The walk to Matthews is the first given up this afternoon by Mike Krukow.
The first man to reach since the 2nd inning, as he set down 13 in a row.
Keith Moreland is flied to right and grounded out. And he hits one high in the air down the right side.
Tough
Davis
sun for you.
battling and making the play. Did a good job. The Cubs strand one after 5.5. The Giants lead it 4-1.
Their new Visa cards.
Wearing a Baltimore Oriole uniform. The only player to win the MVP in each league. He did it at Baltimore in '66. He hit more home runs out of the stadiums in Major League Baseball than any other player in history, 33. Frank Robinson, the field manager of the Giants. Started his managing career in the majors with Cleveland. A former star, as I said, Mike, who maybe has a little trouble understanding the failings of less talented athletes. I guess that's true of everybody.
Well, he had some talent, Frank Robinson. Started with Cincinnati. Crowded that plate, stood right on top of it, but he was a good outfielder, Jay, and he also was a very good base runner.
Gladden singled and scored in the first, grounded out in the third, singled in the fourth. He's stolen a base, has an RBI, and he takes low. 2 balls and no strikes. Chuck Rainey in relief of Rick Russell. Russell went 3 2/3 innings. Had a rough trip, giving up 3 runs. There's a strike at the letters.
Frank Robinson yelling at the home plate umpire, Doug Harvey, and Harvey yelling back to Frank Robinson. He's ducking the pitches, Frank. They're good pitches. They're strikes. This kid, Gladden, the Giants for a number of years tried to get him to shorten up on the bat. You can see now how much he's choking it, and it's really paid off.
Ron Say makes the play over to Moreland. 1 out. Mr. Say has been an outstanding performer for a long, long time.
He holds quite a few Dodger records, by the way.
Here's Bob Brenly, lined out, grounded out, and fly to right. Brenly, they mentioned, was not drafted. He went to school at the University of Ohio, or I should say to Ohio University. That's at Athens, Ohio. Came up through the minors. Strike 1 to him. 4 runs on 9 hits, no errors for the Giants. 1, 3, and 2 for the Cubs. Crowd of about 14,000 sitting in here at Candlestick on a very, very nice Saturday afternoon.
Unbelievably nice Saturday afternoon for Candlestick Park.
The wind was whipping up there for a while, but it's calmed again. Strike on the inside corner. It's a rare sight this time of day, 3 o'clock Pacific time, when those flags aren't whipping around.
They're holding everything for the All-Star game. Then it'll blow it away, probably.
I hope it'll be a nice night.
I do too, but not very often.
You might see some All-Stars look like has-beens if that wind's rolling in here. Atlanta beat Philadelphia 5-2. Seattle over Toronto 8-4. California at Boston was rained out. Tonight, Cincinnati's at New York, Houston at Montreal, Pittsburgh at San Diego, and St. Louis at Los Angeles. Kansas City at Baltimore playing a doubleheader. Cleveland at Chicago, Oakland at Milwaukee, and Detroit at Texas tonight. The 2-2 pitch, just low, 3-2.
Now the wind is whistling up as those flags standing straight up. So that's another difficult part about playing in this stadium.
Down the left side, and it is off the wall. Matthews does a good job, but it'll be a stand-up double for Brenly. Boy, that ball got out there quickly.
Let's see where this payoff 3-2 delivery is.
Right fielder Chili Davis.
Not too bad a pitch, although it was down the middle. Matthews couldn't get there nearly in time. Drops it, but it wouldn't have mattered. He had a stand-up double either way.
Chili Davis is 3 for 3. He scored back in the 5th. 4-1 Giants. And a chance to get more. Outside for a ball.
It'll be interesting to see if, in fact, Rainey does challenge this batter, Davis. He's a switch hitter, and they have a base open with a right-handed batter, Jeff Leonard, on deck.
Chili with his 3 for 3 day as he's average up to 298. And if he banged one out here, he'd be at or above the 300 mark. Ball 2. Maybe some of that dust kicking up there behind home plate as the wind has come up again. It comes and goes. Mostly comes about this time of day here. It really does. That's a strike on the outside corner.
He's keeping everything away from him thus far in this time at bat. He's coming inside now.
And it is 3-1. Jeff Leonard is on deck. He got an RBI in the first inning. That put the Giants on top. Cubs tied it in the second. The Giants got 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, lead it 4-1. Excellent pitch that time as Rainey took something off of it. 3-2.
Chili Davis does not want to walk. That was out of the strike zone, but he still went.
Just low, and he got the walk. For Rainey, the second pass he's given up.
He didn't want any part of him. He pitched around him. Got him to swing at one bad pitch, but he'd rather work to Leonard and hopefully get the double play. As you see, once again, the bullpen getting busy with Warren Brewster starting to throw.
He was throwing earlier. Leonard grounded out of the first, got the RBI, lined out in the 3rd, and singled, and was stranded at 3rd in the 5th. So Brenly is at 2nd and Davis is at 1st for Jeff Leonard.
Chicago has already stranded 8 San Francisco runners, and they've got 2 more on now.
Thompson on deck. Strike the count to Jeff Leonard. Leonard was the '79 Rookie of the Year. Strike 2. Brenly is at 2nd. Chili Davis at 1st. You know, Leonard developed a reputation as being hard to handle. In '81, he was traded here with Dave Bergman for Mike Ivey. '78 Pacific Coast League Player of the Year. A talented performer. Fouls it away.
One thing Chicago's going to have a little trouble with later in the season, I think also, Jay, is they don't have a left-handed relief pitcher down there. And that really puts Jimmy Fry under the gun. They have an excellent relief pitcher in Big Lee Smith, but they do not have a left-handed reliever. And you get in situations in a ball game and during the season that you'd like to have one.
The shortstop makes the play for one, and they safe at first.
He cheated a little
bit, didn't he? Yep.
We'll give you another look at this, and you'll see Moreland try to come off that base a little too early, and Joe West catches him. Good play by the shortstop, Owen. Good throw to Sandberg, and a heck of a return toss across. And look how far off the base the big guy comes, Moreland. He's walking off there, isn't he? It didn't work. Didn't work. Joe West calls him back. They darn near got the double play ball.
So Brenly is at third. Leonard at first, and here is Thompson. Grounded out, walked and single. Strike on the outside corner. 10 hits now for the Giants. The Cubs have 3. That's high. 1-1.
If Rainey can pitch out of this one, they'll strand 2 more, and that will be 10 left by San Francisco. They're inviting a Chicago come-from-behind rally, aren't they?
Now these Cubs can come at you very quickly, too. There's a throw over to first. Leonard back in time. Say, Owen, Sandberg, and Moreland on the Cub infield. Just outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Matthews, Dernier, and Bosley in the outfield, left to right. Rainey in relief of Russell, and Davis doing the catching. 4-1 the Giants. Runner goes, and the throw down is not in time. Stolen base for Jeff Leonard. That's the second stolen base of the afternoon for the Giants. Their 55th of the season.
The patented Pete Rose head-first dive.
Oh, now Thompson has 2 runners in scoring position with 2 out and a 2-2 count.
I'll be surprised if they give him anything good to hit.
That is foul outside of third.
Base open, left-handed batter. They have a right-handed hitter. Young blood on deck. He didn't want the fastball inside. Now he gets another sign. It's a slider.
And the shortstop makes a fine play. Oh, an excellent play by Owen. He had a tough play to make as he was going to his right. He came up with that ball and threw him out. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Sunday, will it be sub and fried kit when Michael tries to save a Cajun cutie from her jealous husband?
K&DO Yakima
is the architect of the current Cubs, the executive vice president and general manager of Chicago, Dallas Green. Man after my own heart. Boy, he loves country and western music.
Right now, he likes victories.
That's true.
He has his Cubs on top. And he's put together a fine rebuilding system over there, hasn't he?
Yeah. Here's Jody Davis to lead it off as we move into the 7th inning here. He has flied out and struck out. Takes a strike on the outside corner, 1-1, as Mike Krukow rolls along with a 3-hitter.
Of course, it certainly doesn't help when they give you the budget reins also. He picked up Rick Sutcliffe and a $900,000 a year salary.
Check swing foul.
A little different in this world of free agency. You can put a club together. Got those greenbacks.
Yes, the game has changed a little bit, hasn't it? Fouled away. Krukow with a record of 4-7 coming into today's game. His dad is a captain in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Hope he's watching this afternoon. Fouled it away.
Okay, he's pitching a very strong game, and that's really what's going to have to mature as far as this San Francisco club is concerned. You have to have a fellow like Krukow, a veteran, go out there and take charge and keep this club together.
That's high, 2-2. Krukow was originally drafted by the Angels, born in Long Beach, California. Played at San Gabriel High School. Fouled away again. Traded to the Phillies in '82, where he was 13-11. Came to the Giants in December of '82 with Mark Davis. And this one behind second's going to fall in there. Oh, Jody Davis finds a hole and a leadoff single here in the 7th.
That's the first base hit since the 2nd inning. A leadoff single here in the 7th. But, Jay, once again, we point out that the Giants have stranded 10 runners, and they've passed too many scoring opportunities. Chicago could come from behind and make San Francisco pay for leaving all of those base runners.
Bosley tripled and scored in the 2nd, grounded out in the 4th. They get busy down in the bullpen down the right side for the Giants, as is high into the air. Davis makes the play.
Did a good job on it, didn't he?
Yeah, he fought that sun. Lavelle is starting to heat up. Gary Lavelle. There he is. They have Lavelle and Mitten, two fine relievers, as Ron Say gets around the booze here. I mentioned Krukow came here in December of '82 with Mark Davis, Charles Penninger, or Morgan, and Al Holland. Say is single, gotten an RBI, and he sends this one deep, deep, deep to center at the warning track. Gladden.
You don't see many home runs go over the center field fence in this ballpark. They get out right around the track and they die.
Here's Dave Owen. He has struck out and flied to center.
Like a vacuum right out in the center field where the wind swirls around.
Owen takes one inside. Ball 1. Owen gets it out to Wellman, and he throws on to Thompson.
Great job of pitching by Krukow around the leadoff single.
So, after 6.5 innings of play, the Giants lead it 4-1. Now, here's another edition of the 7th inning stretch.
Spice presents the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Old Spice Antiperspirant and new improved stick deodorant.
A slim-limbed rookie with the 1954 Milwaukee Braves, Hank Aaron was an unlikely power hitter, but his wrists had the snap of steel, lashing home runs at a record pace for 23 years. Twice Aaron led the league in batting, and 4 times Hammering Hank set the pace in RBIs and homers. The league's MVP in 1957, Aaron belted .393 in the World Series, leading the Braves to a championship. Hank set lifetime marks in games played, at-bats, and RBIs. And in 1974, the baseball public gasped as Aaron clouded his 715th round tripper, surpassing the immortal Babe Ruth for the all-time home run title. Hank Aaron, the most enduring long ball hitter in history.
Now you owe me $4 million, Dad. $3 million. Want to go double or nothing?
Jay Randolph along with Mike Shannon. We're being picked up by the camera operated by our good friend Miss Vicky right there. Yeah, the old redhead. Look at her. There she is. One of the most talented people in our business. We'll see her next weekend at Williamsburg. Huh? You'll be there? The Anheuser-Busch Golf Classic. You want to be paid for that shot we had of you? It's going to be Youngblood who will lead it off in the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, seeing Joel Youngblood here, Mike, reminds me that May led the Giants in hitting in 81, Morgan in 82, Youngblood in 83. All of them were free agents.
Not this year. Mr. Brindley has that duty.
Right. He's changing things at the
But Chili
moment.
Davis could come on and take over that. He gets hot with the bat. He can really go.
Youngblood has struck out. He was hit by a pitch and scored in the 4th. And he walked in the 5th. In that 4th inning, 2 runs on 2 hits and a big error in left field by Matthews. Got the Giants in good shape. The paid attendance this afternoon here at Candlestick, 18,390 sitting in. Beautiful afternoon in the Bay Area. They're getting ready, of course, for the All-Star game here next Tuesday, and then the Democrats will converge on San Francisco. NBC News with a big crew here preparing for its coverage of the Democratic National Convention that will emanate from the Golden Gate. Swing and a miss, and that'll be all. Strikeout. And that is the 2nd strikeout for Rainey.
And if all of that wasn't enough for this area out here, they also have the Super Bowl game scheduled in the Bay Area.
Next year, it'll be played down at Palo Alto, Stanford Stadium. Johnny LeMaster has tripled.
How do you do that? You get the convention, the All-Star game, and the Super Bowl all in one year.
That's called control, I guess. LeMaster singled and scored in the 4th. He fouled out in the 5th. This will play for Ronnie Say in foul ground. They're 2 gone. Brad Wellman this afternoon has struck out. He reached in the 4th on that error by Matthews, and then he struck out in the 5th.
And if they get Mr. Wellman here, it will be the first time that Chicago goes down 1-2-3. Excuse me, the Giants 1-2-3 all afternoon.
And this will probably be the last look we have at Rainey, as he is scheduled to lead off the 8th inning. Strike 1 to Wellman. And strike 2. The Giants are leading at 4-1. Have out hit the Cubs 10-4.
This is the first relief appearance of the year for Rainey.
And he struck him out. That's his 3rd strikeout. And the Giants are out 1-2-3 in the 7th. At the end of 7, it's the Giants 4, the Cubs 1.
It was moving day. Things were going great.
Tomorrow on Sports World, the '84 Olympic basketball team. Pat Ewing and Michael Jordan and Wayman Tisdale and the NBA All-Stars. You'll see Bill Walton and Kelly Tripucka and Clyde the Glide Drexler, Danny Ainge. Great basketball action tomorrow. Don Crickey and Al McGuire will have it for you. 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, except in the Los Angeles area, when it will get underway at 3 o'clock there. We're going to get a pinch hitter. He is Dan Rohn, R-O-H-N. Rohn from Michigan. And he was hitting .238 at Iowa. Called up last year. He did an excellent job as he hits this one hard into center field, and it is over the wall, home run. Well, that ball just kept on going. And Rohn, who hit .287 last year, has just hit his first major league home run.
Well, I just told you, you don't see many go over the center field boards here. Rohn walked up there, and I want to tell you, he used I mean, every inch of his 6'2" and his 5'7", 165 pounds. Whew, that was a tough pitch to hit that far away.
I didn't think it was going to get out, Mike, but
Neither
the wind
did he.
just put it in the stream out there. Rohn, as I mentioned, hit .387 in 23 games with Chicago last year, but that's his first major league home run. He hit .315 at Iowa. Dan Roan has homered here to make it a 4-2 game.
They always talk about 25 men winning a pennant, and it's just performances like that young man's that spark a ball club on.
1 ball and no strikes to Bob Dernier. The Cubs, as a team, they have 33 pinch hits already this season. They only had 50 the entire 83 season. What a play by Bob Brenly. Sliding in under it. He didn't see that ball, but just at the last second, he was able to recover.
He didn't get it right off the bat here. You watch him hesitate a bit as he has a difficult time trying to find it. Now he sees it. And watch this play. Takes a look at the fence, dives, and catches the baseball. Whew. That takes the momentum away from the Cubs in a hurry.
As we mentioned, that's Roan's first major league home run. It was his first time at bat this season with the big club. Sandberg 1 for 3 on the afternoon. Roan got back up here and did a job. Sandberg had a cut. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 4-2 the Giants. In the 8th. LeMaster, the shortstop, throws out Sandberg. 2 gone for Gary Matthews. There is Dan Roan.
Number 36.
That'd be an exciting moment for him, boy.
He won't feel the effect of it till sometime late this evening. It'll take a while to sink in. Everyone else around him knows, but that's great, isn't it? Walk up there as a pinch hitter and hit it 400 plus.
Matthews takes high. He struck out in the 1st and grounded out in the 3rd and got his 55th walk of the season in the 6th. He leads the National League in walks, and that's ball 2. I guess this fella's about as imposing a figure up at the plate, Mike, as anybody you can think of.
He's a hustler. I'll say that for Gary Matthews. He'll give you 100% all of the time. He's bounced around the last few years, but he attacks.
The home run by Roan, the 74th of the season for Chicago. Strike on the corner, 3-1.
Jay, they lead the National League in scoring runs, almost 5 a game, 4.99.
And the walk, number 56 on the season to Matthews. So Matthews down there. That'll bring the tying run to the plate. Keith Moreland has flied to right twice and grounded out.
Number 6, first baseman Keith Moreland.
Lavelle still heating up down the right side. Moreland has 7 home runs this season. A strike on the outside corner. Good pitch from Mike Krukow. Krukow, the former Cub. Outside, 1-1.
Good shot of Krukow and how he comes set and stops his arm movement before he lifts his leg. If you lift your leg before you stop the movement of your arms, it's now a balk. Watch him. He's, whoops, pretty close there to balking.
Popped up down the right side, and let's see if anybody can get over there. No, it'll be back into the seats.
He turned their balk there after.
If the Cubs lose this one, they'll be 47-36. The Mets, who have a game at Shea Stadium tonight against Cincinnati, are 45-34. Well, if Chicago loses, they'll be virtually tied for the top spot in the National League East. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Moreland. High, 2-2.
He's coming very close to that balk. He just about stops there.
Krukow's
further down anyway.
100th pitch of the game coming up, and a dandy. He struck him out. That is strikeout number 5 for Mike Krukow. He gave up the home run to the pinch hitter Roan, and after 7.5, 4-2 Giants.
You can still own a car with a solid steel frame and a V8 engine. They're standard.
Americans McEnroe and Connors for breakfast at Wimbledon. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. Check your local listings.
Well, you'll want to join us tomorrow. Wimbledon, the All England Tennis Championships. Breakfast at Wimbledon tomorrow right here on NBC Sports. You'll experience a wonderful, wonderful event as Jimmy Connors challenges Johnny McEnroe. 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. for those of you in the Los Angeles area. Wimbledon. Roan stays in the game and plays at second base. And the new pitcher is Warren Brewster. Brewster, the third pitcher of the afternoon for the Cubs, following Russell and Rainey. And the pitch to Krukow, strike one. Deep in the hole, fine play by Owen, and he does the job. Well, he's shown us a couple of excellent plays as he's gone to his right this afternoon.
He can go in the hole, and he has a fine arm. Watch how when he gets into the hole, he backhands the baseball. Krukow swings the bat well. You see there. Now watch him. He backhands it, then plants the foot, pushes off in a very strong throw.
Here's Gladden to face Warren Brewster.
Young man Owen is the heir apparent to the shortstop job here in Chicago. You can see how far he's choked up on the bat, and it's really paid off for him. That's his third hit of the day.
Whew. He is 3 for 5 this afternoon. We're going to look at Brewster, who comes in out of the bullpen and pitches from the stretch, whether there's anybody on base or not.
Wow. Relief pitchers have gone to that in the past few years. You don't see many of them with the chaw of tobacco in their cheek like Mr. Brewster has, though. He leads the league in that department. They really have taken a liking to this man, Bob Brenly, here in the Candlestick area.
Throw over to first. Brenly today has lined out, grounded out, and flied to right, and then in the 6th he doubled, was stranded at third. 1 out and 1 on, with the Giants leading at 4-2. Slashed foul down the right side. The line on Chuck Rainey, 3 1/3. He gave up a run on 4 hits, struck out 3, and walked 2. Brenly with a very open stance and a throw over to first. Better than 18,000 watching along with you this afternoon here at Candlestick Park, and the wind now really rotating in around home plate and also on that warning track in the outfield down the right side. It is 335 down the lines, 365 to the power alleys, and 400 to center field, where the flags now are really bristling out. Wind blowing there at the moment from right to left. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gladden is back at first.
They're going to have to make a heck of a decision on what to do with Mr. Gladden if he continues to perform like he has and Jack Clark comes back on this team.
Well, baseball is a game of decisions. They pitch out, and he is still there. How about that? Third stolen base today on his birthday.
Jody Davis pitches out, and as so often you see, he makes a poor throw after the pitch out. There's the pitch out. Now watch the throw bounce on the grass. All he has to do is get it there on the other side, and he'd have had him easily.
Gladden is 29 years old today. Davis has done a much better job, incidentally, of throwing out the runners this season. Much improved. 2 balls and 1 strike to Brenly. And Roan, the newcomer, he just did back up in time to make that play. Brenly pops out. Brenly a little upset with himself right here.
That was a good pitch to hit. A little hanger on the curveball. He popped it up, and that's a big run at second base. If anybody gets on in the top of the 9th inning for Chicago, it'll bring the tying run to the plate. Frank Robinson would love to score the rookie Gladden from second base, and who else but Mr. Chili Davis to do it. He's been on base all 4 times today.
3 for 3 with a walk.
Now he'll go out and talk to him about the situation. Once again, the base open with 2 down and a right-handed batter in Leonard coming up next. These are the kind of situations that are going to weigh on Chicago during the year. No left-hander out of the bullpen.
Are they going to put him on? They are. I think they've decided to give him the intentional pass. So Chili is going to have a perfect day. 3 singles and a couple of walks. And this is the first pass given up by Brewster. The intentional walk. And you can see that dirt kicking up behind home plate. It is really starting to get very windy here at Candlestick.
Watch out. That's an old trick.
Yeah,
act like they're going to throw it right back to the pitcher, and he just lets it go.
Jeff Leonard is the man. Grounded out, got an RBI in the first, lined out in the third, singled in the 5th, and reached on a fielder's choice and stole a base in the 6th. 1 for 4. Gladden is at second. Davis at first with 2 gone. It's 4-2 the Giants. They're trying to get more here in the 8th. Leonard went for a pitch that was down low and fouled it off to the right side. Breakfast at Wimbledon tomorrow morning. Connors and McEnroe. Tennis, a very predictable game for the most part. You got who you want in that final tomorrow.
Also today with the ladies.
Martina Navratilova, a winner over Chris Evert Lloyd. 1-1. Wearing Mr. Leonard's jersey. Obviously a big fan of Jeff Leonard. And the 1-1 pitch is coming to him from Warren Brewster with 2 on and 2 out. Whew. Came up empty, but he had a rip. Fouled away. They get Leonard here. The Giants will have stranded 12 this afternoon. They lead it 4-2. The runners are Gladden and Davis. Ooh, he just missed. It's 2-2. Just low. Outside corner. Gary LaBelle along with Frank Williams. Now throwing for the Giants down the right side. Up the middle.
Big hit. Big hit.
Gladden will come home. It's going to be 5-2. Davis goes to third. And Jeff Leonard gets his second RBI of the afternoon. That's a big run, Mike.
And a big stolen base by Gladden in this inning. Brindley could have hit into a double play after that single and the stolen base. He comes in to score, and that gives you that little cushion. It's now 5-2, and that's the 12th base hit for the Giants this afternoon. They really blasted the Cub pitcher.
Cubs have 5. Here's Scott Thompson. Grounded out, walked, singled, and grounded out. And through the hole, and it is 6-2, the Giants. Chili Davis coming home on the little scooter off the bat of Scott Thompson to the left side.
If it stays like this, 6-2, it will be the first time San Francisco has beaten Chicago this year. As you see Chili Davis scoring in on the bench now, and he's been on base 5 times today.
There's Dusty Baker. Dusty, who was with us early in the telecast with the starting lineups for the Giants. Youngblood has struck out twice, walked, and in the 4th he was hit by a pitch and scored. Ball 1 to Youngblood. And that's ball 2. Leonard at second, Thompson at first with 2 out. 6-2 San Francisco. Giants, who had won 6 in a row before the doubleheader loss to the Cardinals on July 4th, trying to stop the 4-game losing streak and leading at 6-2. The 2-1 pitch. High fly ball. Matthews is on the run, and it is lost in the sun, and it'll be a ground rule double. Well, Matthews and Dernier couldn't come up with it. It looked like Matthews felt that he was going to catch it. Then he lost it in the sun. Dernier, I don't think, felt it was really his ball.
Well, Matthews is the guy that has to catch it because he's not looking in the sun. But he looks over. He thinks that the center fielder is going to get it. Now he comes after it. But he's the guy that had to catch it. He couldn't get there. He thought that Dernier was going to catch it. Hits on the warning track. Bounces into left field.
One run is going to score. They're going to have to put somebody back out at third base. Leonard scores, but Thompson will have to come back to third base. Here's that play again. A ground rule double.
See, Matthews should have caught the ball. He had time to get there, and he just thought Dernier was going to take it.
Danny Ozark talking things over with Doug Harvey, the crew chief. And now having a word with Bob Davidson down the line there, the third base umpire.
Now what he could be arguing about, a ground rule double is a ground rule double. And the man has to stay at third.
Johnny LeMaster tripled. In the 4th, he singled and scored. In the 5th, he fouled out. In the 7th, he fouled out. Well, Thompson is at third. Youngblood out at second. It's fouled away. Brewster has given up 3 runs on 4 hits and a walk. Just outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. And we'll do it again. The biggest inning of the game for the Giants here in the 8th, as they have 3. They have out-hit the Cubs 14-5. Say comes across and makes the play. 3 runs for the Giants. We'll go to the 9th. The Cubs need 5 to tie.
Hey, Chicken's here.
Oh, you went there.
Don't we deserve something better?
And Tom Bosley. Be there for good times and mimes on Bloopers and Practical Jokes Monday.
Well, there's a young man having himself some fun. He and Dad are out at the ballpark on a Saturday afternoon. He said, "There's the way you're supposed to wear that hat. Look at me."
Make a catcher out of his daddy.
That's right. And Mike Krukow. Things stay the way they are. He'll be this week's NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game. And Light Beer from Miller will be presenting a check for $1,000 in the name of Mike Krukow to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Jody Davis leads it off. The Cubs down by 5 here in the 9th, and this one is way, way back into center. Gladden makes the play. Oh, that ball was hit right on the nose, but right at Gladden.
This kid Gladden can play center field all the way back, right in front of that fence out there, 400 feet away. He's a good-looking young player.
Bosley scored in the 2nd after a triple, grounded out in the 4th and fly to right in the 7th. This will play for Thompson. Now it's going to have to play for Krukow, and they get him. Krukow has only 1 complete game this season. This is going to be his 2nd. It's going to make his record 5-7, and the Giants certainly needed a pitching performance like this afternoon.
Okay, he got right to the heart of this ball game when he retired the last 2 men in the 2nd inning, and then they didn't get another base runner until the 6th when he walked Gary Matthews with 2 outs.
Ron Say singled, got an RBI in the 2nd, grounded out and flied into center.
During that stretch, he set down 13 in succession.
One ball and 1 strike. 2 gone. The Giants will stop the Cubs' win streak at 4 and stop their losing streak at 4.
And give the New York Mets a chance to take over first place.
That's low. 2 balls and 1 strike. Say into left, and the Cubs are still alive. So Ron Say today is 2 for 4. And it'll be up to Dave Owen, the youngster who started at shortstop today for Larry Boa. He has struck out, flied to center, and grounded out. Mark Davis and Rick Sutcliffe will hook up here tomorrow in the final game of this series.
Good play by Ruben Amaro. Long time Major League infielder. There you see him, the first base coach for Chicago.
High, 1-1.
Nice outing from Mr. Krukow against his former teammates. He was a long-time Chicago Cub.
That's just outside. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Krukow was with Chicago from 73 through 82.
That gets away, and Say goes on to 2nd. And now is going on to 3rd.
Now he has to go back. He can only take 1 base when the ball goes off the playing field when it's thrown from the pitcher. You get the base you're going to +1 if anybody else throws it away. But from the pitching mound, you only get the 1, and Mr. Say has to go back to 2nd base on the pass ball.
So Say is at 2nd. 3 balls and 1 strike, the count to Owen. Roan, who hit the home run in the 8th, is on deck.
See how large the 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th loom in this game.
Brewster couldn't get the job done as he came in and gave up 3 runs on 4 hits. Now the payoff pitch is high, and they're 2 on. The walk.
Number 17,
third.
second baseman Dan Ron.
Mike Krukow has only 1 complete game this year.
Mentioned that in 16 starts. This number 17. Oh, here is Dan Roan, who hit the home run in the 8th. Now they've got a ball on the field. Get it off just down below our broadcast position. That's high. And Krukow struggling a little bit now.
Yeah, he's getting a little tired, it appears.
He'd like to get the complete game, but I wonder how long they will let him go.
You got a break because the first 2 men up in this inning hit the first pitch.
Frank Robinson is headed to the mound.
That may be all for him, I believe, with the left-hander loosening in the bullpen. It appears that Frank may go into the right field side and bring in Gary Lavelle. Hasn't called for him yet, but
there he is. He's called for him now. So we're going to have a pitching change here at Candlestick Park. The Giants have the lead 7-2. Krukow, fine job. Back with more in a moment.
A little loss of control here could ruin your whole day.
Bell is the new hurler, 3-3. 3.13 ERA. Has 8 saves on the year, 37 appearances. Lavelle, who is from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Nice performance by Mike Krukow. 8 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Had a good one.
He wanted the complete game. You can see the facial expression. Just couldn't get through the final inning, the 9th, there as he goes out of the game with 2 outs.
And with the left-hander coming on, we're going to get a change. Cotto will take over for Roan. Cotto is going to stand in. He's batting .246. Oh, the wheels are turning here a little bit as we wind down to this one, but the Cubs are still alive in this one, down by 5. They pronounce that Cotto. C-O-T-T-O. Henry Cotto.
Number 28, Henry Cotto.
Cotto from the Bronx. At Iowa, hit .261. We mentioned he's .246 average at the moment. And he takes high for a ball. He's 2 for 6 as a pinch hitter, is Cotto.
It's ball 3. If he throws ball 4 here, the walk will be credited to Krukow.
Strike on the corner from Gary Lavelle. Two out, 2 on. 7-2. The Giants lead it over the Cubs. There's the walk. Oh, that's 4 walks. Charge to Krukow.
Number 20.
One more base runner, and the tying run will come to the plate. Those are big, big runs. The 3 that San Francisco scored in the bottom of the 8th inning. We're in the 9th now.
Dernier, 0 for 4 this afternoon. Inside for a ball.
There's a tip-off on how to stop this Chicago offense. Keep this man off base. Dernier.
Strike on the inside corner from Lavelle. Ron Say, Dave Owen, Henry Cotto on the bases. Say at third. Owen. Cotto. Fouled away. The Cubs this season have won 10 games in their last at-bats.
If they're going to win this one, that guy will have to get on somehow, some way, and we'll have a pinch hitter. Gary Woods is out on deck.
Lavelle is one pitch away from stopping this, and he still is, as it's 2-2.
There's Mr. Woods. That's the man Frank Robinson does not want to see come to the plate.
Bases loaded. The 2-2 pitch with 2 out. Struck him out. And it is all over. Dernier having a word there with Doug Harvey as Lavelle gets the strikeout. The victory 7-2 for the Giants over the Cubs as we look again at this pitch.
Close enough, close enough. You better swing.
We'll be back with some final thoughts in a moment.
These are the men who